Okay, so I gotta start off by saying this was way more difficult than I thought it would be. Because listen, there's gonna be people who are upset about my top 10 RPGs of 2022, and for multiple reasons, and I can understand part of it. One is we had a lot of, say, re-releases, but they're first-time releases for the Nintendo Switch. How can I not put them on here this year? The thing is a lot of those games are games that would be number one when they came out. Some of them so amazing, they're just bangers. So I had to put them on the list, but I didn't want to ignore too many new releases that we've never played before, never seen before, but with the idea, too, that if you didn't own any other console, and the Nintendo Switch was the only console you had, which is kind of the mindset you have to go into, then a lot of these games that have released earlier on other consoles are new to the Nintendo Switch. So that's the mindset I had to go into in making this, and it was difficult. It was really difficult. I think it was going to be difficult before thinking about that aspect of 2022 and the Nintendo Switch. But before we get into that, though, I have to bug you guys to please hit that like and subscribe button. It means everything to me, and really helps the channel grow. So before we even get into the top 10, I do want to throw out some honorable mentions here. Some of these games are some of my favorites of 2022. But anyway, so the first honorable mention is Front Mission First. This game was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I actually fully beat it just a couple days ago, and it's such a great game. It's hard to say that this isn't on the top 10 of this list. Twin Blades of the Three Kingdoms was another game that I really fell in love with. This kind of meets the world of Dynasty Warriors and Suikoden. It's cool because it's an old school RPG where you go around and you collect characters. It has a great storyline and really impressive battles that happen in the game. Another game on this honorable mention is 13 Sentinels, which is primarily a lot of dialogue, but it does have some mech combat, which is really cool, and the story is just phenomenal. Light Fairy Tale is a game that is sort of episodic. So far, we've gotten 2 released so far this year on the Switch, and they're short little games, about 5 or 6 hours a piece, each blending into the next one. But they really have this old school Final Fantasy VII feel about them, and they're just fantastic. I've really enjoyed that little mini-series that's come out so far. Another game on this list is a game that kind of actually let me down. It wasn't as good as I thought it was, and it deserves a place in the honorable mention, but is Chrono Cross. I really thought I would enjoy that game a lot more than I did. I don't know if nostalgia got a hold of me or what, but playing it, I had fun, but it wasn't as good as really I thought it would. Dark Deity. It's a great game. I really can't say a lot about any of these games because I gotta hurry the hell up. Edge of Eternity, another really great game. Chained Echoes. These are all games that deserve some sort of attention, and if you end up picking them up, you're gonna enjoy them. So, number 10 on the list is Tactics Ogre. This game has an amazing storyline, a lot of customization that you can have with your team, and really is one of the cornerstones of the strategy RPG realm. It is so good in so many different aspects just because of, I think, it's a little bit more bare bones, but it does it so well. And the story, the character development, all of that is top notch. Number 9 on the list is another game that's a re-release, and it is Live Alive. Now this one, though, is a first-time release in America. This game came out in the 90s, I believe, in Japan, and it has you following about 8 different characters, I believe, and each one has kind of like a little mini game. I should say a little mini story you follow them on, anywhere between 2 to 5 hours, and you get to know them. And at the end, you get to join this whole massive team together to fight on the super evil. There's some definite twists and turns I don't want to ruin here, but Live Alive was a fantastic game and such a cool release in 2022. And coming in at number 8 is a game that I had to put on here because I just loved it so much. Not only do you get a whole lot of content for your value, but it's also just really good in a series I've never heard of before. It's Celestian Tales. Now, this game is very bare bones. It's very simplistic. I don't know if a lot of people will be blown away by much of the graphics or anything like that, but the story is amazing. The fact that you get to control so many different characters and follow their timeline and understand where they come from. This is another one of those games where you'll play as different characters that end up all working together, but it forms in a little bit different manner because, well, a majority of the game they're all together, but you get to play a couple chapters prior to the main game where you get to learn about them, and then you get to experience all of the events that happen in the main story through their eyes. And each different character has a different opinion of how things work, and it's just a really cool game. And then you get a whole ass other game at the end of this game, as it has a DLC and part 2. So you get so much content for it. Celestian Tales was one that just came out of nowhere for me, and I absolutely adored it. It was pulled off the eShop for quite a while, but it's back on. So number 7 is another game that I really, really love, Diofield Chronicles. This game was ultimately a breath of fresh air for me because it was some of the old stuff, and it's more of a strategy RPG with a little bit more freedom, and the characters are a constant in this, meaning no permadeath, and you essentially have this team of 3 that has been working together for so long. You're a mercenary group who takes on different missions, and it sort of blends into a little bit of the Fire Emblem aspect as you have your own headquarters you can kind of roam around in. You can upgrade your weapons, upgrade your skills, has an incredible storyline, as it should. It's just a fantastic game that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, and honestly, I think it deserves to be higher on my list if I'm being honest. I loved Diofield Chronicles. It was a great release for 2022. So, number 6 on my list is NieR Automata. Now, again, this game probably, a lot of people already played it, right? But it was released for the first time this year on the Nintendo Switch, so how can I not include it? But at the same time, I almost feel like putting it at number 6 is kind of a slap in the face. NieR Automata is one of the best games, maybe ever for some people. It is incredibly fun, fast-paced, action-packed, with an amazing story. And not to mention that, but on the Switch, it performs really well, it looks really good. I have to include it somewhere. And I think that was the problem with a lot of these, is it probably should be higher up. It definitely should be, but how do I put these on a list that doesn't slap them in the face, but then I don't ignore them at the same time? Number 5 on the list is one that just released rather recently, but it has to go on the list. I love this game. I'm so happy that they re-released it because a lot of people didn't get to play it on the PSP, and that is Final Fantasy VII Reunion Crisis Core 6 Junior Part 2. No, just the longest title ever. No, this game is really great. You follow Zack, who is basically the Cloud predecessor, including everything down from the Buster Sword to the hairstyle. But Zack is a lot more open. He has a lot more, personality, honestly, than Cloud. As you can see the love bloom between him and Aerith, and you can see his interactions between Sephiroth and Angeal and Genesis, and a lot of these characters that we've all known to be there, but they were only talked about in maybe whispers and hushes, and somebody like Sephiroth, who just came off as this ultimate evil, almost insane. It's cool to see him in this game as basically just your bruh for a while. You just, you work together. He's he advises you this way and that way, and you can really, really see when he broke and why he broke. And I think that's what a lot of this game is actually about, is it's more about Sephiroth than it is about anyone else. But it also does talk a lot about Zack, and I think he's going to be a big part of Final Fantasy VII Remake world, as he should be. It's a hack and slash action RPG game that is definitely worth the pickup. So we are on to number 4. Now this one was one that I had to, I'm not exactly sure why it's at this number. I put so many hours into this game, and it's almost a prequel to something that I'm excited for coming out in 2023. I'll just get to it. It's Xenoblade Chronicles. This game's more of a 2D side-scroller where you're following 2 characters and watching how they work back and forth. One filled with honor, one who's just an action adventure thief who's just trying to live her best life. As you come into the town that is pretty much just destroyed by progress. That's essentially what's going on. They're mining the hell out of it, literally taking the heart out of the town. And when you show up to this town, you're just looking for some jobs, a little bit of money, kind of get you through. But you end up helping rebuild this town. You help get rid of the evil that is literally hollowing the town out. And the story itself takes on a much bigger picture. It's really fun and really engaging. At times, this game is super serious, and other times it's just really fun and almost cozy in a way, as so many NPCs have their own personality. And it's so cool to watch the village literally grow from everything that you're doing and all of the characters that you're helping out, as you just really help this village that go from squander to nothing to this amazing bustling town with tons of people walking around. The commerce rain is pouring. Everything is looking good. It's a really cool game though. I really enjoyed it far more than I thought it would. But yes, it is sort of the prequel to the Suikoden spiritual successor that's coming out this year, so that's another part of why it is where it is. Now, number 3 on the list is a game that is arguably my favorite game of all time, honestly. But again, it kind of drops because I played it years ago, and I had to put it somewhere. I think it deserves all the attention in the world, especially if you don't have it or you haven't played it. But number 3 on the list here is Persona 5 Royal. Ultimately, like I said, I would probably give this game number 1 had it not been something that many people have already played. Everyone knows the characters. Hell, Joker's in Super Smash Brothers. Like, this is definitely a game that has already been carved out, so to speak. Many people know it. But if you haven't played it, this is the release date on the Nintendo Switch, so you've got to give it the credit it deserves. And listen, this game is, like I said, arguably my favorite game of all time. The characters are amazing. The just sim aspect of developing relationships with the characters, the outside stuff is so much fun. And a lot of people, the dating sim life, it's there, it's definitely there, but there's more to it than just that, as far as your interactions outside of just combat. But God, the combat is so good, the enemies are so good. I absolutely love this game because of some of the enemies. Like, they're real enemies, you're fighting like perverts, and you're fighting people who are, just morally bankrupt as they're destroying the world with their greed, or teachers who are taking advantage of students. Like, these are actual bad guys, not like some weird just creation that happened because of, some jewel that manifested into something. Well, you know what I'm saying. The weird demon creatures in most games. No, this is actually like real fucking horrible people. And I love everything about this game. There's just so many things to talk about. I can't go on enough about why Persona 5 Royal is arguably the best game of all time as far as RPGs are considered. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people who disagree with me, and that's fine. But this game definitely deserves to be really high up on the list of 2022 for the Nintendo Switch. Number 2 on the list is Triangle Strategy. I wanted Final Fantasy Tactics ever since Final Fantasy Tactics has released. I didn't get to play it way back then, but I did play it, and when I played this game, I loved it. And they've never made another game like it. Like, we've been missing that Final Fantasy Tactics aspect of strategy RPGs, and finally, they made a spiritual successor, and that being Triangle Strategy. And I understand it's not exactly like it, and it's a little bit more political, less about the church, but it is really good. The story is amazing, gives you a lot of options, and a lot of things that you do can change the course of how the game plays out. It has some really great characters, but the combat itself is, it's strategic, and as it should be, but it's also incredibly engaging, really fun, and one of those games that, like, you have to be on your grind. You gotta be on your shit if you want to be good at this game, and I think that's what I appreciate the most out of it. Now, number 1 on the list, I think we all know what it is. Neon White. No, I'm kidding. Neon White's won about every other award so far this year. But no, number 1 on the list is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Why? Because it has everything. It's a new story. It's arguably one of the best performing and best looking games on the Nintendo Switch. It's incredibly long, has a ton of content, has some great character development, maybe some of the best in the franchise. This game has everything you want. Customization. There is a lot of interactions between the characters. You can see the characters grow amongst themselves. You can actually change your roles in this one, so you don't have to be an attacker or a guard or whatever. You can change back and forth, and you can be a freaking gigantic mech. I don't know about you, but that is important to me. But no, the world is just so huge and it's almost daunting at times, but that also means there's so much more to explore. There is so much that you and your team kind of discover together as you're running around, and the fun thing about it is it feels like you have a team because everyone has something to say at times, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like constant, but the cutscenes and the moments where this game really pulls emotions out is some of the best in honestly RPG history. This game is, well, it's amazing. And it's one of those games that I think I look at from 2022 and I say, well, you're telling me the Switch is dead? This comes out and you're telling me the Switch is dead. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people would agree with me that this should be considered one of the best games of the year. And that's up in contention with Elden Ring, God of War. Honestly, a lot of people probably don't like this style of game. And that's why it's not, higher up on people's lists. But you gotta give it the respect it deserves. I love it. I'm still not done with it. I gotta be honest, so I don't want to give like a whole review because I can't, but I really have enjoyed it, and that's probably why I haven't beaten it yet, because when I love a game, I take my time. I like to explore, I like to find different aspects of the game, and this is one of those games too that when it was released, I was like, I'm not doing a review. I want to enjoy this game, and that's exactly what I have done, and I think it definitely deserves number one on this list. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this list. It's longer than hell, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, what games you would add, which ones you'd take off, where did I miss something, because I know I did, and I don't know, let me know, what's your RPG of 2022, or what's just some of your fun favorite RPGs you've been playing recently. Any and all comments I appreciate, but like always guys, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy, because you make me happy. Take care everyone, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. We still got more content coming out until the end of 2022, before we get back to our regular schedule. Anyway, love you guys, bye bye.